This is Daniel Krug, the man who killed his wife and thought he could get away with it. He's heading in for another normal work day, just minutes after leaving his wife's lifeless body hidden in the garage of their own home.
Oh shit. Holy fuck.
For the last 4 months, this man has been puzzling together the most calculated homicide plot Colorado has ever seen, creating fake identities, manipulating Crystal's children, and setting up the perfect scapegoat to take the blame. He believes his plan is bulletproof, that police will spend weeks chasing a ghost and eventually arrest someone else for the murder he committed. And despite nearly perfect detective work, his plan works exactly the way he intended. Before we dive into today's story, and trust me, this one will leave you speechless, hit that subscribe button right now. Every week we bring you the most chilling, most shocking real crime cases that you won't find anywhere else. Don't miss a single one. Subscribe now and turn on your notifications. The story starts in 3, 2, 1. This is Crystal Krug months before her murder. She lives here with her husband, Daniel Krug, and their 3 children. Both Crystal and her husband are well educated and seem to have built a comfortable life together with their kids. But behind closed doors, something dark is happening that will destroy this beautiful family. All because Crystal's been dealing with a stalker obsessed with her, sending her constant threats and claiming to watch her every move. This officer is here to check her car for GPS trackers or anything that could explain how this stalker keeps finding her. In reality, the stalker is much closer than anyone could have imagined.
You can see like it's a little bit dirty, so I can see blood marks, but like my street looks like this all the time. There's no one out there. Like I know the normal cars.
Yeah.
So I don't know where he's following me from.
Okay.
I can only assume a tracker.
Nothing jumps out at me.
I know, I didn't either. I'm hoping it's just to mess with me.
The officer continues searching the vehicle top to bottom but finds nothing suspicious. So before leaving, he offers Crystal a few safety recommendations and reassures her that they'll keep looking into her case. Not long into the course of the investigation, Broomfield police receive another call, this time from Crystal's husband, Daniel, reporting a break-in at his home. An officer is dispatched to check things out. Unknowingly, this encounter will be the start of one of the most calculated murders the United States has ever seen.
Hey, how's it going? Yeah, definitely. I'm Officer Chauncey.
I'm Dan.
Nice to meet you.
Johnson, nice to meet you.
So as I pulled in, I saw someone run out, jump over my gate, and take off that way.
Got it.
I didn't think to call you until my wife got home recently and we realized the spare key that we keep in the garage isn't there.
Okay.
According to Daniel, the only thing that's gone is their spare house key. If someone stole that, it means they aren't done and might have plans to come back at some point. The officer advises Daniel to change their locks immediately while police look into who this intruder might be. What no one realizes tonight is that this is no random incident. It's the opening move in a plan that's been forming for months. And this break-in is just step 1. 9 days after Daniel reports the break-in, his wife Crystal wakes up to another uneasy morning. For weeks now, she's been receiving strange anonymous messages and a growing sense that someone out there has an eye on her. Until now, none of it had a name attached, just a faceless presence that kept getting closer. But today, that changes. As Crystal gets the kids ready for school, makes her morning coffee, and heads out for work, her phone buzzes. She glances at the screen and sees a name she hasn't thought about in more than 20 years. Jack Anthony Holland, a man she dated briefly as a teenager. The message is short, crude, and completely out of nowhere. Hi Crystal, it's Anthony. Hope it's okay I looked you up. I go to Boulder every few weeks and thought we could hook up. You game? At first, she didn't think much of it. The two last spoke years ago, and even then he was harmless. So she ignores it and moves on. But the next day, everything changes. Are you there? You should say yes when I offer pity. Whatever. I saw your pics. You got fat. You should f yourself. Saw you at the dentist today. Your license plate expired. Got to fix that. Suddenly, Crystal's fear becomes reality, and she begins living with the terrifying possibility that she's being watched. She's now certain Anthony is the one who's been harassing her for weeks. She becomes hypervigilant, installs cameras around the home, dash cams in her car, and starts carrying a concealed handgun everywhere she goes. By late October, Crystal's barely sleeping. She keeps a spreadsheet, a stalker log, documenting every message she gets. Then, almost a month later, a new email from Anthony confirms her worst fears. The email comes with an attached photo showing her husband, Daniel, at his workplace. This your husband? Drives like a slow old lady. He needs to drive safe. Now the stalker isn't just targeting Crystal. He's coming after her family. Crystal realizes she can't handle this alone, so she hires a private investigator to track down Anthony's addresses and digital history. Then, on Halloween night, she calls the police.
So, how can I help you tonight? What's going on?
Yeah, so I have an ex from a very long time ago who has occasionally found me on social media, and it's never been an issue. So this month, I have received numerous text messages, and then today I got an email that is very threatening, and it escalated to the point that he took a recent picture of my husband at his work location. So the stalking is getting a little too aggressive at this point in time.
Okay.
So my last contact with this individual was 5 years ago, where I told him I was happily married. I had no interest in what he kept contacting me. He kind of blew things up and then blocked me. I blocked him, haven't heard from him since.
After explaining everything to the officer, she documents each detail and forwards the case to the department's investigative unit. Within hours, the file lands on the desk of Detective Andrew Martinez, a seasoned investigator who's worked some of Broomfield's toughest cases, including abductions and violent crimes. Martinez schedules a formal meeting with Crystal for the following week, hoping to get a clearer picture of what exactly is happening and who this Anthony really is. When she sits down with Martinez, the situation has already escalated far beyond what Crystal first reported.
So, he saw full pictures of my family, of my kids. I locked down my protocol real fast after this because it was pretty alarming, right? Where he's like, we're meant to be together and my family loves that we're talking. And I'm like, whoa, you think that we're in a relationship? So I shut it down real hard. I said, this is really creepy for me. You need to stop. And he got real emotional and then blocked me. I'm like, good. And I blocked him and and then I shut down Facebook entirely. The one development that I have, I did get the full-blown report from the PI problem, and you'll see this in this report. There are tons of phone numbers associated with him. There are tons of addresses. He moves everywhere and between 3 different states.
As Crystal walks the detective through her evidence, 2 details immediately stand out. First, her stalker isn't just texting her from random numbers. He's using multiple phone lines and different digital identities, finding ways to reach her even after she changes her information. Whoever this is, they're persistent, resourceful, and frighteningly determined. Second, her ex-boyfriend Anthony Holland is tied to several addresses and multiple phone numbers. Whether it's instability or an attempt to stay off the grid, it convinces Martinez that Crystal is dealing with someone who either doesn't want to be found or someone who's planning something far worse. With all of this in mind, Martinez wraps the interview with Crystal and begins the digital side of the investigation. He sends warrants to service providers requesting phone records, email logs, and account information to track down the stalker. Unfortunately for Martinez, these companies will make a mistake that will soon prove deadly. While waiting for the digital evidence to come back, Martinez decides to follow up on something else. The garage break-in Daniel reported back in September. He brings Daniel in for a formal interview, wanting to know whether he's noticed anyone following him. But instead of clarifying things, Martinez is about to learn something far more unsettling about the Krug household.
And I guess at what point did she tell you that he recontacted her this last time?
It was either November 1st or November 2nd. It was after she had gotten a picture of me at work that she brought me up to speed on that.
Gotcha, okay. And the first contact that he initially made with her was back on October 2nd. I guess why that month gap, do you think, before she told you?
I'm sure she has mentioned to you that she and I are going through a rough patch, kind of on the rocks. So probably didn't seem that pressing until it was.
Sure. And she didn't mention that to me, that you guys were having a rough time currently. Are you guys in the process of separating, getting divorced, or working through things?
To be determined. My brother Matthew is a cop, so I have a retractable asp steel baton.
Yeah.
As I said, not right now, but otherwise, it's on me all the time. I sleep with it next to me. I've bought some additional security cameras for the house. So what am I doing? I'm panicking. And I'm doing a shit job of protecting my wife. So I'm not doing good.
Yeah, I can see that. So, with that being, I know that Chris Steele, we put her car on a lift on Tuesday afternoon to see if there's any sort of GPS tracking or anything like that.
She told me.
We couldn't find anything on the car. If Anthony is watching you guys, it's going to be in person from a distance or nearby or however. So that poses an interesting issue in of itself.
Detective Martinez wraps up the interview, but something Daniel said lingers in the back of his mind. He revealed that he didn't know about the stalking for almost a month. Not until Crystal finally showed him the email with the photo taken outside his workplace. So Martinez decides to look deeper into the family dynamic, and what he finds is concerning. He learns that the couple had been going through a rough patch recently. Nothing hostile or dangerous, but they were trying to work things out, doing what they believed was best for their kids and holding their family together the best they could. Given how much the stalker seems to know about their lives, Martinez briefly wonders if someone inside the home might be manipulating the situation, and for a moment, he even considers the possibility that Daniel might be messing with his wife as some twisted way of trying to fix their marriage. But that idea is quickly dismissed. There is no evidence backing any of it, and all signs still point to Anthony. Not to mention, Crystal herself is fully convinced her ex is behind the stalking campaign. For the first time in weeks, Crystal and her family feel a brief sense of relief. It sounds like Anthony is backing off, maybe even leaving the state. But in reality, this is just the stalker's final move to make them drop their guard before he strikes. The day starts like every other day. Daniel leaves for work, while Crystal heads out to drop the kids off at school. During those minutes, someone approaches the front door, tapes over the Ring doorbell camera, and slips inside the house. Minutes later, Crystal drives back home, pulls into the garage, and steps out of the car. She has no idea someone is waiting for her inside. And the moment she closes the car door, he attacks. The stalker strikes Crystal in the head, stabs her, and leaves her bleeding on the floor. After months of plotting, this is the moment he'd been waiting for. Later that morning, Daniel tries calling Crystal from his office, but she doesn't answer or respond to texts.
Hi there. My name is Dan Krug. I don't think this is an emergency, but this feels really weird.
Okay.
My wife isn't responding to text messages or phone calls.
Okay.
And we've had threats against us. We have both been targeted by a stalker.
Okay.
Threats have been made against my life.
Okay.
And threatening to kidnap her, which is why I'm nervous that she's not answering me.
Yeah.
Within minutes of Daniel's call, an officer is dispatched to the Krug residence to check on Crystal. At the same time, Daniel also calls Crystal's mother, asking her to go check on her daughter, sending her straight into the worst moment of her life. While she makes her way there, the officer reaches the house first.
Hello.
Oh, I was just, I'm their neighbor, and they called me. Like, can you go see if she'll answer the
Oh, yeah, he sent us as well, so.
Okay, I'm like, I don't know.
Just next door? Okay.
All right, well, you got this.
Alrighty, man. Appreciate it.
The house looks quiet, and the officer doesn't notice anything wrong from the outside. But before he clears the call and drives off, something nags at him. So he brings his patrol car a little closer to check the garage, where he's about to uncover a tragic, horrifying sight. As the officer leans in for a closer look, he spots a body lying on the floor, motionless, with blood smeared across the wall.
151, send medical, and 110, I need a force entry. I got a female down in the garage. Brookfield Police! Brookfield Police! Oh, shit. Holy shit.
The officer steps into the garage to find Crystal with what looks like a severe head injury. So he immediately begins performing CPR, working on her for several moments with no success, before opening the garage door to give medics access. But instead of paramedics, someone else soon arrives.
Garage is open now.
Hello?
Hello, ma'am. I need you to stay out, please.
Okay.
The officer steps into the garage to find Crystal with what looks like a severe head injury. So he immediately begins performing CPR, working on her for several moments with no success, before opening the garage door to give medics access. But instead of paramedics, someone else soon arrives.
Cam! I need you to come over here for a minute, okay? So we can work. I understand. I need you to come on over here, okay?
Okay.
I know. Do me a favor, go and sit inside so we can work on her, okay? So we can try to get her the help, okay? What's your name?
Linda.
Linda?
Yeah.
Okay. My name's Officer Zamora, okay? I'll come out here and I'll give you some news as soon as I can.
Please tell me she's okay.
I have no idea just yet, but I know that they're working on her. The officer in there has been working CPR on her, and I think she's doing okay,
My
okay?
husband called.
He did. He's the one that called us and let us know, okay? Go ahead, take a seat for a minute. I'll be right back here, okay?
I need to tag out, man. She's got a head wound. I don't know if it's from falling or something else, but probably falling, but I don't know, man. It's a good one.
Yep.
Husband said there was a stalker threatening to kidnap her, so I don't know.
Oh, she's not.
No, she's unresponsive. Decent head wound.
Where we have more room at the
Medics work for only a few minutes before realizing there's nothing more they can do. Beside Crystal's body, tucked inside her purse, the officer notices a handgun she never even had time to reach for. With the immediate area secure, officers spread out throughout the house, searching every room for the attacker. But no one is inside. And as officers step outside the home, they start noticing small details that don't line up with an impulsive crime.
Yeah, I don't know the backstory. Husband said there was a dude who's been stalking her and threatened to kidnap her. And Martinez was involved, and Martinez just said, hey, this is a big old... I don't know, dude. I don't know the history on that part. Martinez does, though, and he said he's coming in. So, other than that, we're just kind of securing the scene and waiting for detectives, you know? See what they need. I kicked that, yeah. That's interesting. Yeah. That is very interesting. Almost like dude might have stuck around from this way and...
I wonder if maybe the door was unlocked. That's how he got in. And then
You know what, dude?
deadbolted when
You know what? I don't know. I kicked it and it went pretty easy. So I'm going to say no deadbolt.
it wasn't deadbolted. It was just handle was locked.
I saw her, came around, booted it.
At this time, officers have no reason to suspect Daniel of anything, so they treat him with care as he goes through this traumatic moment. But beneath that devastation lies a cold, heartless man. Because Daniel knows exactly what happened inside that garage. And Daniel is the killer himself. Every tear and shaking breath is part of his act, one he will continue selling to police and Crystal's family, standing just a few feet away.
I didn't protect her. I was the person who attacked her.
Let them know about. They're not going to talk to her. They're not going to say nobody says anything. They're just going to tell her they're. We don't tell. This is a family matter. We're just going to figure out a reunification. We'll take care of it. Just make sure that transportation.
As this tragedy unfolds, Crystal's mother embraces Daniel, trying to comfort him, having no idea the man she's holding is the one who murdered her daughter. Still at the crime scene, detectives continue their work, canvassing the neighborhood, speaking with neighbors, and collecting every CCTV clip they can find to reconstruct the killer's movements. By this point, there's enough evidence tying Crystal's ex-boyfriend Anthony to months of harassment, allowing police to obtain a nationwide arrest warrant for stalking. Departments across the country are notified to be on the lookout for him. Additionally, with a homicide on their hands and a killer on the loose, investigators can now escalate the case and issue exigent circumstance warrants to service providers to finally speed up the digital data they've been waiting on. If Martinez had received those files weeks earlier, things might have been very different. In the meantime, Daniel, along with the rest of the family, is taken to the police station for formal interviews. At this stage, it's standard procedure, and investigators are simply looking to collect statements. But about 2 hours later, when detectives finally sit down with Daniel, his routine interview begins to take a very different turn.
So, your home security system, you access that through your personal phone?
Google Nest.
It's Google Nest. Okay.
This fixing me.
Okay.
Just push a home.
Okay. So I have your permission to operate this phone and get what we need?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how many different cameras do you have?
4. Doorbell. Side of the house. Driveway. Back door.
How long have you had it?
Doorbell a couple years. The others, all since September. We had an intruder. I called the police. He came when we had a garage intruder.
So when do your cameras go off? Do you ever have them set to turn off?
24/7.
Okay.
They don't turn off. If you lose internet or in the app, you can turn them off.
And who has the ability to turn off the cameras? Who has the ability to go in the app and turn these off?
Christine, me, and
It's all right. It's all right, Dan.
Home shows all 4.
Oh, perfect.
Home. I can settings.
Okay. Oh,
Just us.
just yes. Okay.
The detective's question here isn't by chance. It's prompted by something peculiar he noticed on the surveillance app. All of the home's cameras shut off at 8:15 a.m. and stayed off until 10:15 a.m. Only the camera pointed outside the garage remained active during that entire 2-hour window. This instantly narrows the murder time frame to those 2 hours. Just then, Martinez finally arrives at the interview room. He's the lead detective who's been handling Crystal's stalking case for months, and now that case has become something far worse. He sits down with her devastated husband, feeling the weight of the loss they both couldn't prevent. As Daniel breaks down, something catches Martinez's attention. Daniel is crying, but there are no tears. The detective finds it strange and more than a little concerning. Wanting to probe deeper, Martinez asks for a moment alone with Daniel to see what's really going on beneath the surface. And the moment he starts asking questions, things get heated fast.
I know you said that you don't think that there was somebody else.
She said.
Okay.
Why do you keep asking?
I'm just trying to put everything together to kind of get a bigger picture, because you said that she's been acting kind of weird lately and, being very secretive and withholding of information for you. So I'm just trying to understand, I guess, so we can backtrack what she's been doing this past month.
Martinez's question here is telling of what he's thinking. He's not ruling out Daniel as a possible suspect. After all, the couple were going through a separation, and this is meant to probe whether jealousy or something else could have played a role in Crystal's death. Sensing the tension in Daniel's response, the detective decides not to press any further. But as they step out for a quick break, Daniel says something that makes it obvious he struck a nerve.
I've seen enough movies. It's always the husband. I get it.
At around 3:15 p.m. that afternoon, police finally get their first real break in months. After digging through everything they have on Anthony Holland, investigators land on a possible address in Utah. Because they can't reach him themselves, Broomfield detectives coordinate with Utah County Sheriff's Office, sharing his name, photo, and the address where he's believed to be staying. Up until now, Anthony has only existed as a name in emails and threats, a distant figure who no one has actually seen. So when officers finally get a hit on his location, it becomes the first real chance to confront the man they've been hunting for months.
When you knew her?
Yeah.
And do you know a Daniel Krug?
No.
No? How do you know Crystal?
She was an ex-girlfriend.
She's an ex-girlfriend? How long's the ex? Like how long ago?
1999.
Oh, so like a long while ago.
She was my very first girlfriend ever.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
When was the last time you talked to Crystal? Has it been a minute?
It's been a minute, yeah.
Like since you moved from...
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would have been, what, back in 2014?
Yeah.
As officers speak with Anthony, he appears intoxicated and confused. After being briefed on the situation, he gives his timeline, insisting he never left Utah and spent the morning with family, nowhere near Colorado. Once they collect Anthony's statement, Utah officers leave to begin verifying every part of his story. In the meantime, detectives back in Colorado regroup to reassess the investigation. With Anthony still denying involvement, Detective Martinez turns back to the one angle he hasn't fully explored yet: Crystal's husband, Daniel. Since he never ruled out jealousy or affairs as a possible motive, Martinez decides to dig deeper into Daniel's past. And that's when he stumbles onto something interesting and very unsettling. While searching old reports, Martinez finds a closed but unresolved stalking complaint from years earlier. The victim who filed it is a woman named Carrie, and as it turns out, she was Daniel's ex-girlfriend. The more Martinez reviews, the more disturbing the pattern becomes. The report claims she was stalked for weeks by an obsessed man who impersonated multiple people, manipulating her through fake identities. Detectives quickly locate Carrie and bring her in for an interview. When they sit down with her, they uncover a story so disturbingly similar to Crystal's, it opens up an entirely new theory.
I think it was, like I said, a couple months I broke up with him a couple months into my freshman year. He, he was pretty emotional, I would say. Sort of desperation would maybe be a word I would use to describe after the breakup of please don't do this, kind of, crying, that sort of thing, that I can recall. And then I started to get messages from his roommate, and that person's name is Tom, on AOL Instant Messenger. And I know Tom is real because they were roommates. If I called him, Tom would sometimes pick up the phone. They had a joint room and a joint phone. Tom, his role, I would say, was sort of to gain sympathy from me for Dan and continue to encourage me to communicate with Dan. There was perhaps some indication that he was, or was, because of the breakup, just really not doing well. So this, made me keep communication up with Dan. And Tom ended up being Dan, right? So all these people I'm going to tell you about end up being Dan Krug, not Tom. Yeah, even though Tom is a real person, he was not sending me these messages.
Carrie would go on to explain that despite their suspicions, there was never enough evidence tying Daniel back to the messages she received. Everything had been sent from a public library, and because of that, her accusations remained just that, suspicions. But even without proof, the similarities between the two women's experiences are impossible to ignore. And for the first time, detectives begin considering a possibility they never imagined. What if Daniel has been playing everyone? What if he's been impersonating Anthony? What if he's always been the architect behind the entire stalking campaign? Detective Martinez receives the intel from Carrie's interview, and with that, Daniel officially becomes an equal prime suspect alongside Anthony. At this point, the only thing that can give them a definitive answer is the digital evidence. So while they wait for that, Martinez receives something he can work with immediately: the full set of surveillance footage collected from the neighborhood and Daniel's workplace. With that pool of evidence finally in their hands, investigators sit down and begin reconstructing the full picture of what happened before Crystal was killed. Shortly before 8 a.m., Crystal arrives home after dropping off the kids. She pulls into the garage, closes the door, and everything looks normal. Minutes later, at 8:15 a.m., the entire security system goes offline. Every camera except the outside garage camera is taken down for the next 2 hours. At 8:25 a.m., that lone camera records something deeply concerning. Daniel leaves the house to go to work later than he normally does, shortly after the time medical examiners believe Crystal was killed. From there, workplace footage shows Daniel moving through the building around 9 a.m., greeting co-workers and appearing completely normal, as if nothing had happened at home. And when investigators check footage from surrounding houses, they find no one approaching the property all morning. Everything about the timeline makes Daniel look more suspicious by the minute. With all these new developments, detectives bring Daniel back in for another interview. He walks in expecting routine procedural follow-ups, completely unaware of how much has changed since the last time he sat in this room. This is when Daniel's months-long, carefully crafted plan begins to crumble. This time, Detective Martinez walks in with a completely different energy. He's no longer feeling Daniel out. He's here with one clear objective: confront him with what's been uncovered and see if his version of events finally breaks.
Going through my head right now. I have my brother. Yeah, I've mentioned him. He's the sheriff's lieutenant, and I have his voice saying, "Talk to the police." And in typical cop fashion, he married a prosecutor. So I had Lynn's voice in my head going, "Get a lawyer."
Right away, Daniel doesn't open the interview casually. He opens it with a calculated trick. By hinting at getting a lawyer, he's warning detectives: push too hard, and this interview is over. That's clever, but Martinez has a counterplan. Instead of confronting him, he'll pivot the conversation to his relationship with Crystal, making it feel like safer ground to get Daniel comfortable and talking. But if Daniel had any motive to take Crystal out of the picture, this is where it would surface.
Well, I'm sure, especially you guys are trying to work together to be safe, keep your family safe, keep your as dysfunctional as it is, you still both had the common goal of keeping it safe, right?
I had her as a partner to protect the family, but it didn't feel like a partner who valued me. And I told her at that point, I didn't want to die for someone who didn't care about me anymore.
That's really hard.
I was hurting when I said that. And what I wanted was her to say she cared about me. She didn't.
Daniel quietly asks for an attorney, and the interview comes to an end. Even though he continues insisting he's innocent, there's one detail Daniel admits on his own. One no one even knew about until now. Crystal herself had confronted him about being the stalker. Hearing that from Daniel's own mouth hits Martinez hard, because to him, that sounds like the kind of confrontation that could have pushed everything over the edge. But without hard proof, detectives can't yet say Daniel is truly responsible. So with the interview over, Daniel is processed for physical evidence and escorted out of the police station. But before he leaves, he turns back and tells detectives one final thing.
I want you to find who did this. Because I don't. You don't believe that? Fine. Just don't stop looking elsewhere. Focus on me. Okay? Find the fucker who did this. Are you married? With kids? Divorced? Red line yet? I don't care if you capture him. I just want the fucker to pay. He took my children's mother for Christmas.
Over the next 2 days, the case becomes the department's top priority. Every available officer is working on it. And this is when the investigation finally begins to break wide open. Officers in Utah finally finish verifying Anthony's alibi. They find surveillance footage showing him in Utah at the time of Crystal's murder, and there are no travel records or license plate pings placing him anywhere near Colorado. Then, the last of the digital evidence arrives, and this time, it's overwhelming. The burner phones used to send the threatening messages to Crystal were purchased with a Visa gift card registered under Daniel Krug's name. And cell tower records show those burner phones were always in the same location as Daniel's personal phone, meaning he was carrying both devices at the same time. And then comes the final blow. Detectives uncovered Daniel's Google searches from the night before the murder. How hard would you have to hit someone in the head to make them unconscious? When is a head injury a cause for concern? Piece by piece, the picture comes together. There is no Anthony. There is no mysterious stalker. It's always been just Daniel. Detectives now understand exactly what happened. Daniel created the entire stalking persona in a twisted attempt to regain control of his failing marriage. And when Crystal began to suspect the truth, Daniel killed her to cover it up. On December 16th, an arrest warrant is issued for Daniel Krug. Officers are dispatched immediately, finding him on his way to his daughter's dance performance. As patrol units close in, Daniel's movements strike them as suspicious. He appears to be heading back toward his car, and officers believe he may be trying to get away.
This is a detective. Get him out. Go. On the island. Just get right. All right, we're coming up in front. Just get up and bump the back. No, fuck. Go. Just go. Go. Show us your hands! Show us your hands! Hands on your face! Hands on your face! Hands on your face! Under red.
Daniel Krug is taken into custody without incident. In the weeks that follow, police finish their work. The digital forensic evidence, the surveillance timeline, the phone data, all of it leads back to the same person. Investigators become certain that Daniel Krug acted alone. He created a fake stalker, framed an ex-boyfriend, manipulated his wife, his children, and law enforcement. Before the case reaches trial, Daniel formally pleads not guilty. In April of 2025, his case moves into the courtroom. The story prosecutors present is devastatingly clear.
This was about Dan losing control. He was not in love with Christelle, and that resentment had turned to rage by the time we get to December 14th. Think about what he did to her. You don't do that to somebody you love. Think about the absolute nightmare and hell that he made the last few months of her life.
On the other hand, Daniel's defense argues that there was no physical evidence placing him at the crime scene, and that he could not have been the killer.
We know the physical evidence. And there is an enormous disconnect between that and the circumstantial picture the prosecution wants you to believe. Mr. Krug did not kill his wife. He did not commit these crimes.
After both sides make their case, the jury deliberates for nearly 2 days. And on April 17th, 2025, they return with their verdict.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty of murder in the first degree.
Daniel is found guilty of first-degree murder, stalking, and criminal impersonation. He is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole.